Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Podcana episode 51. Today, we are diving into the spoilers for the next set, Ursala's return. We're also going to be talking a little bit about deck lists that we're bringing to, respectively, Atlanta and Lille. We're super excited. We've been preparing a lot and just pumped to sort of get into these big competitive tournaments. I believe Atlanta will be almost 2,000 people, which is freaking ridiculous, by the way. We'll see how many show up. Anyway, Moyen, how was your week in Lorcana been going? I saw you were rank 1, then you fell down a little bit, but I see you creeping back up there. You going for rank 1 finish this season?
I might. Like, it's part of the plan, but the bigger plan is to find everything I need to know. I find out everything I need to know about all the Lorcana decks that I think are reasonable considerations, or also the decks that we even might just play against. So I'm just playing lots of different decks, which isn't always great for your rank, but I've been finding some potential in decks that I didn't see potential in before.
Mm-hmm. And Carl, it sounds like you might be playing. Just maybe not. I know you've been having a bit of a hectic time with your setup for Lille, so maybe we'll see you on Ruby Amethyst aggro. I feel like I just have to bring it up. I feel like we have these like super meta decks that we always consider playing in like the Podcana group chat, like when we're going to Stitch Championships, and then I feel like last minute, Carl, you always audible like some sort of like rogue deck,
some wacky rogue deck.
Yeah,
like with this time with Steel Amethyst was pretty decent, but before it was like, oh, I'm playing Ruby Amethyst. We're like, oh, he finally made a good deck choice. It's like aggro.
And then I'm like, no, I'm not. Yeah.
Aggro.
I mean, all I'll say is it has worked. Like, they haven't been like absolutely atrocious calls where I'm like, hey guys, I'm bringing this deck, and I literally just bomb. Like, the funny thing is the one deck I brought that I thought was good for the Poland event, Blue Steel, I didn't even make day 2. So like, I don't know. Like, if I was going to Lille right now, and if I was talking to you guys enough, I think I would definitely be convinced to just play Ruby Amethyst because it's like super consistent and stuff like that. Like I said, if because of the card pool thing, I actually might have to just end up on Amethyst Steel, which I wouldn't mind too much because like I put in enough reps with the deck and I know a lot of the matchups and stuff. I wouldn't feel like too disadvantageous, and also how I performed in the set championships. I was pretty happy with the deck, but yeah, I mean, it's very much looking like I will be playing now. As I was talking to Brendan before this podcast, I'm still waiting to hear about casting. It's been what's the Titanic meme? It's been 84 years. Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, I think I'll play Ruby Amethyst as well. I do think Blue Red is like a better deck. I think it has the worst matchup spread, but I mean, I was talking to Moyen about this before he hopped on. Like, my win rate as Ruby Amethyst and Blue Red is like 80+% on Pixelborn. I'm just playing at like higher ranks, which is just, it's crazy to me. My win rate as Ruby Amethyst into Moyen's Blue Red is 20%, but I think people just fundamentally do not understand like certain openers. Like Moyen and I know, Carl, you've been a part of this conversation as well, been tossing around this idea that like Lorcana is more like chess than a card game and has specific openers that you sort of aim for, and they adjust dynamically based on what your opponent is doing, et cetera, et cetera. And like there are specific openers that Blue Red can have that I feel like absolutely just dunk on Ruby Amethyst. And as Ruby Amethyst, you also have a bit of equity to do that, but a little bit less, right? Like you have good openers against them, but they can completely respond. This is things like, 1-drop into 2-drop Cusco, into 3-drop Mini, into 4-drop Castle. Like that is a big tax for Blue Red, but they can absolutely answer it with the right curve. I just can't get past my data. Like I want a reason to play Blue Red, kind of. Like I also don't want to just pair into aggro decks and auto lose, but I want a reason to play the best deck. But no matter what I do, my data is just like Ruby Amethyst just seems to be the best deck for me in this metagame right now at this stage of the game. So it's looking like what I'll play. Moyen seems like he might play a green deck.
No, I've been giving even the decks that I have maybe some biases against a chance, and I've tested lots of decks that you might consider rogue, and from these, I think both Emerald Amethyst but also Steel Amethyst have somewhat impressed me, and I will test them more for the tournament.
I just want to get into the headlines, and then we'll head into our spilled ink section, and then ultimately dive into spoilers. So for headlines, we do have our T-shirt going up on sale right now. It's going to be at metalfabtokens.com. I'll have a link in the description and a link as the pinned comment to where you can find the T-shirt. It's a limited sale. It's going to end next Friday. So this is releasing on Friday. The Friday after that, there will be no more t-shirts. So it's only being sold for about 7 days right now. If you're in our Discord, you would have gotten a notification early. So pick yours up before they sell out and before they're gone forever. It says a special 47% meme on the back, which we'll dive in. We'll re-explain to anybody who sort of missed it. It's an OG Podcana meme, but we have a question about it in this building section. So we'll go over it again and where that comes from. But if you want to support the podcast, if you're a fan of the podcast, this is the number one way you can do it. Is just buy the t-shirt, show up to Atlanta, show up to Lille in it. We'll all be wearing them. So it'd be cool to see y'all get some as well. Anyway, there's a picture of that probably popped up while I was talking about this. So yeah, check it out. Link in the description, pinned comment, Metal Fab Tokens, which is also our sponsor, but we'll have our t-shirts up for about 7 days after this releases. So get them quick. Anyway, on to this building. So this is our listener question section. For your question right out, you can shoot us a comment on YouTube. And passing over to Kalwa.
All right, first one's from 3D Exicon. First off, love the content, keep it up. First question, I may have missed the 47% meme. Reckon you could explain it. Please edit the clip of Moyne going, 53! Yeah, Moyne, talk about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's basically about the going first, going second advantage or disadvantage, where we kept somewhat complaining about how big that disparity is, until then in one podcast cover brought up that in an interview, I think it was it an ex-game designer or was it?
No,
it
like
was
the brand
Ryan
manager.
Miller.
Ryan
Well,
Miller, the brand manager, yeah.
Yeah, so he said that in their internal playtesting, the difference was more like 53 to 47%, and that just seemed, at least to competent players, that just seems outrageous. So
yeah, and then you put it
immediately
out to
afterwards,
all game designers. You challenged them there on the spot to play you. Yeah.
So I was so outraged that I did challenge them. If they can beat me 47% of the time going second, then I will apologize. But
yeah,
I didn't get challenged yet.
Pavel released the data soon after that because it became a little bit popular, right? It was a bit of a popular meme. I know Zephyr did a video on it, but then Pavel released the data of the actual win percentage disparity, and I believe it was like anywhere between 23 and 26% in Grandmaster, which is like insane. So it is a bit of a meme because they did publicly say that their internal testing said it was 53 to 47, which is a 6% differential, and it's just not the case at a high level. And we've even seen the competitive format change as a result of that. I actually, I think that the first player advantage really irritated me at the beginning of the set, but it has less so since then. I do think that it has maybe gone down a bit. I haven't seen the data since then, but I do think like the early builds of decks, like it felt like, when everybody was trying to like Jim Hawkins scam each other and like we didn't have any answers. We didn't really know how to play against it. It did feel like way bigger than it is now. So maybe it's gone down a bit, but yeah, it was like at the time of them saying this, like it was pretty bad. It was pretty bad.
Do you think that's a result of playing decks that it doesn't? I don't want to say it's not as relevant in certain decks because it is still there. It is still very much present. But decks like red blue, I feel like decks like red blue. Like how much do you think the going first, going second on a deck like red blue compared? Like you still think the difference is like absolutely huge, like as much as other decks, or like it's a little bit less?
So red blue, I think it matters. RA, I think it matters the least. Maybe in the red blue mirror, it doesn't matter as much, but like red blue can be, I feel like it can be pretty important to go first, especially against some of the aggro decks, because you can do things like dump your hand, turn 4, be prepared. You can get out early Medusas. Like it's a big deal. I think in particular, like playing Ruby Amethyst, I felt it the least because Ruby Amethyst, like even in the mirror, when your opponent goes mini, you can also develop a mini on 3 and then on turn 4 blow them out with something like Merlin. You can strategically keep back things like the crabs. I mean, you can be keeping the crab for the mini thing, but you also keep the crab for the castle. You can be keeping back Maui's. Like there's just so many things you can actually do on the draw, which is you can do them strategically or you can just get lucky because your opponent has like multiple openers, right, that they can go for. They can do things like double mini, they can go mini into the castle, and they're vastly different in how they should be responded to. So you can get a little bit lucky and like blow them out like multiple times on the draw. That being said, I do find that like playing something like there were some decks that were a bit more popular at the beginning of the format where I do feel like going first versus going second was like absolutely ridiculous. Like things like Amber Steel. Holy shit. There's not a worse game experience on this planet than going second in Amber Steel mirror. Like, oh my goodness. Your opponent plays Cinderella. It's like, good luck.
It's like, okay, I also play my Cinderella. Please don't have Let the Storm Mage on.
Yeah.
And then maybe I have it.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So I think that it's less important now. It's still important, but it doesn't feel like it did at the beginning of the set. I think the decks were not tuned as well. Like Jim Hawkins is not even a card we play anymore. But like previously, it's like if you didn't have the answer to the gym and your opponent went first and did the gym, it was like, oh my goodness, how do I deal with this? You kind of just lost on the spot. I felt like. So I feel like mostly deck tuning, more tuned decks. Better pilots, knowing how to answer these things. And also, we've had decks like Amber Steel kind of fade a bit in the metagame. And Blue-Red, I do think it's really important against some matchups, but in general, it's not like as painful as like playing something like Amber Steel in terms of like losing the die roll.
Also shout out to Ravensburger for apparently just listening to our feedback, or not just us. I meant like the community's feedback, as you know, the die roll was a very common issue that was being talked about. Suddenly we have a format where everyone gets to go first and second the same amount of times. And then even in that format, people didn't like how much the extra point was weighted for going to 0. And that has also been changed already. So I feel like they're open to making mistakes and also adjusting based on feedback. And that's
very much so, yeah.
That's
huge to see.
We got super lucky. So like I started Lorcana content creation like even before the game came out, and like back then there wasn't even like a hope of competitive play. Like it was just not on the menu. So not only did we get competitive play, but we're actually getting sort of active feedback. Like it feels like the people that are making the decisions understand how this game is played at a competitive level, which is pretty incredible, because I don't think that's like the thesis of Lorcana, and that's actually the target audience that it's necessarily portraying itself to. Nevertheless, we do have what feels like, you know, people that are working in Ravensburger actually listening, and then also, like, I know this sounds surprising, but actually playing the game too, which is, I know that sounds like it's normal, but I don't know if it is, like, especially playing it at a high level and realizing that was a pain point. I also think that with best of 3, like a huge pain point for me was the timer. And I'm really happy to move to 2-game format, because I mean, in best of 3, like if you're playing a deck like Blue Red, or you know, Blue Steel, like any of these sort of control decks, it felt very hard to finish the matches, and that was not fun. That's a very unfun experience, I think, both for the pilot and for the opponent, because people who are new or people who just inherently play they don't like being, you know, having to be called for slow play constantly. And that's what you would have to do at a professional event. Absolutely, with those decks.
Mm-hmm. All right. To finish off this question, 3D Xkin also says, I too play Ruby Amethyst. My favorite card that I got from here is Peter Pan Shadow. Lastly, what do you reckon is a max deck list you should run specifically in RA?
Is he talking about card count, I think?
If he's talking about card count, 60.
Literally always 60. Anybody who tells you above 60 is scamming you. It's wrong every single time. So there might be the ultra niche scenario where you're talking mill versus mill. Like where there's like mill game plans versus mill game plans. It's consistently going to that. And maybe if you add a single card in your deck or something like that, you're one card over, you just have this deterministic way to win that game plan. Okay, fine. But every single time you add a card above the minimum card count, you're just adding the worst card to your deck. Like, it is objectively incorrect. It has never been correct. Don't do it. I have no idea why. I look at the top 16s of major tournaments and see non-zero amounts of decks on 62, 63, 64, 65. It's wrong. There is no way. There's no gray area. There's no granularity. It is incorrect. It's never been correct. Don't do it. You will simply be playing a worse deck. And I promise you, as the game matures, that will stop happening. There's a reason why a lot of people don't do that.
Right now, it's like your deck doesn't get much worse for playing 1 or 2 extra cards, but it still gets worse. And
it never gets better. It is objectively worse. It is always worse. So the thing is like, even if you're like, I don't instantly lose because I do this and I couldn't make a decision about what card to cut, like, you are taking a X% worse for no reason. Actually, no reason. It's just
usually the reason is that it's like that some players, they don't want to cut specific cards out of the deck. Like, no, I want this, but I also want this. I guess I can just play both of them because we have this no max deck limit. But yeah, your deck will still get worse.
Yeah, it's a bad idea. Don't do it. Like, if anybody, it's like, I would love to hear someone try to make a legitimate argument to why you should play more than 60 cards outside of like, it's a meme. And yeah, some people did it for that joke. And then also it's just like, yeah, the whole idea was like, I can't figure out what to cut, so I just put it all in. I play over 60 cards. Like, sure, you can do that, but don't come to us and tell us that that's correct. Like, I mean, like, what? It's not like a defensible position. The whole over 60 card thing is just the weirdest Lorcana phenomenon. There's a reason. Like, there's a reason why you never see Moyen play over 60 cards. There's a reason why you never see Savage play over 60 cards. Like, it's wrong. I don't know what to say.
All right, next one's from M. Jesus. Been doing some testing in RA with the recent Into the Inkland Simba, 2 cost an Inkable Quest for 3 as a way to help aggro against Ruby Sapphire. Turn 2 Simba, turn 3 Mini Surfer is very strong and has some good results. If any of you guys tried testing this card, and do you think it is a valid tech card for arguably RA's worst matchup? Y'all are awesome. Keep up the great content. I'll let you guys answer it in a minute, obviously, because you probably have like literally the correct answer, but I know back in set 2 when it was there was a lot of mirror matches happening. I know that's definitely different versus a mirror match in versus Ruby Sapphire instead. But there was decks that ran like the LeFou and the Arthur package, even just like 2 and 2 off to try and get some kind of aggressive advantage. That being said, that is like a 2-drop and a 3-drop. I understand the curve of this being like a 2-drop aggressive card like Simba into a 3-drop like Mini can be like super aggressive, but there are definitely strategies in Ruby Amethyst that you can use to like put in these more aggressive cards in certain matches. But I think the bad thing about that is like, okay, how good is that card in the other matchups then? You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah. It's a good card. Like, you play this, like, if I had a sideboard, I might add this for Ruby Sapphire. Like, it's not bad. Like, they have to answer with their one of 2 queens in the deck, or what, you get 6 lore. Like, that's not too bad. That's a fine card versus Ruby Sapphire. The problem is it's uninkable and it's terrible against everything else, right? Like, what is it good? What else is it good against? I can't imagine a deck, right? Because all the other blue decks are steel decks.
I don't even think I would tech it if in a sideboard. I'm not sure. It's like, so if either they can Queen of Hearts it, but also let's say they go first, they can also like 1 jump ahead, just play a 4-drop, and their 4-drop already contests my questing Simba. So I think the problem with it is that most of the time it quests once, and then you're down a card. So even with Mini, sometimes you have to really be careful about when you play it, because if it doesn't gain you enough lore, like being down a card once it gets Medusa in comparison to having played Maleficent, like the games can still go very, very long against Ruby Sapphire. So I think while you want to be aggressive, I wouldn't sacrifice this much card quality and just to be a little bit more aggressive early.
Next one's from Spooky. If you return Isabella to your hand after she quests, can your other characters then quest, since she has the ability and she leaves play? For those of you who are wondering, what is Isabella? Isabella is a card that we talked about last week on the pod. She's a 5-cost inkable 3/4 with evasive, and she says during your turn, it's like during your turn, if this is the only character you quest with or something like that, then you essentially quest for 4. She has 1 lore printed on the card, but then if you do it that way, you get 3 extra, but then you can't quest with the rest of your characters. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't say like, if the card doesn't say when this enters play, you can't quest with the rest of your characters. If it's bounced back to your hand, yes, you can.
Just Kita adds a token to everything. You know that card?
This is the question. Yeah, I actually can't remember, because I know we talked about this during a pod at one stage. But do you guys remember the Kita interaction in terms of like if you if you play it and then you're on your opponent's turns, they play cards like rush cards, like did they get affected by Kita? I actually can't remember. I remember I answered this question and I've already forgot.
They don't get Kita it just adds a token. Like that's the best way to
the ones that are on the board. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So they are even like negative.
Yeah.
Negative strength.
Yeah, the negative strength thing. Yeah.
My thought would be if you bounced it, that it would not still be in effect. Because it's like this isn't a token. This is like a persistent board effect.
No, but it's like when this quests, your other characters can quest for the rest of the turn. So like, doesn't it happen when it quests?
I don't know.
That effect gets into play, and then
you
maybe
have to add like does it add a token onto the characters? Like it's so bizarre.
That's so that they can't quest this. Then you could.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, if that's how Kita works, I guess.
Actually, yeah, I didn't read the card. Yeah, I actually bounced it. I think you still can't quest with your cards. I should have just read the card exactly.
Yeah. Well, let us know if we're wrong. Let us know if we're wrong. We're not rules experts over here.
Cheese says, can y'all say what you love about Mr. Smee so much? I feel like I'm not utilizing the card well enough. Moyen, take it away, please.
I mean, it's so the biggest strength about Smee is when you realize that it's not just a good play turn 2, but it's like late game. It's by far the best 2-drop to play in a turn we play like multiple things, because it's a 2-drop that quests for 2 that is very durable at its 3 willpower, and that even if it gets like traded into it, it kills stuff. So one big strength is, for example, against Ruby Amethyst, that you can just quest with your Smee until it gets like taken out by a snake or a fox, because if they want to do that, it's even if it's a 2 or 1 willpower, often you can still like force them to take this trade if they don't have like something small laying around. The other thing, right now it's even played in Emerald Steelers, and even in those that don't play Hook, they still play Smee.
Mm-hmm.
And something they can do, for example, is just they quest for 2. You're like, okay, but this will die at some point, and then they quest for 2 again. They're at 4 follower, and then against some decks they can just leave it up as a 3-1 until they take some trade, or they can just say, okay, my 2-drop quested for 6. I'm happy with that. I can push to 20 with my 2-drop questing for 6 and dying to itself. Yeah, Smee is live.
There's a fundamental that I think can be applied to a lot of cards when evaluating them. It's like if Smee is clearly overstated, right? It's a 2-cost 3/3 that quest for 2, but it has a downside. The issue is that the downside is not frequently realized. The downside is the idea is like that it gets this -1 counter, and it's like it doesn't trade as well. But the problem is like it's often still trading equal or up. Like you're still trading 1 for 1, even though you've quested for 6. Like that's insane. I think the fact that the downside that's printed on the card is not always realized in its like totality, right? Like those damage counters are not always relevant, is what makes it so powerful, because you get this overstated character that sometimes has virtually no downside.
And it can be used with it's
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
good in
that's
conjunction with Rapunzel and Ember. It's great with Cogsworth in Sapphire Steel. But even without all of those things, it's still just a good card on its own.
Yep. Dog says, if we continue to get 4 sets a year, how long do you think it'll take until buyer's fatigue starts to kick in? Everyone is buying lots of product, but will people start getting tired of sinking tons of money into the next shiny new set? I'm going to say no, because it's Disney, and I cannot tell you how many people I know and I've seen online that interact with this game from just like a collector standpoint and stuff like that as well. It's actually crazy. It's weird for me to like look at, because I'm so engaged with it from like actually playing the game level, and like that's the community I interact with. And then there's this whole other community that just says, look, I want to just collect all the cards. I'm just buying all the cards. So I can't imagine buyer fatigue will set in. Like, I don't know, like, have you experienced something like this before, Brennan?
Like, I think it already happened, right? Like, look at set 1. You couldn't get it. Now you can buy the set. I think it's healthy. I think it's in a healthier spot than it was.
I disagree with that right
you can
now.
Buy,
for set 1.
You can't buy into the
set. Well, no, yeah, no, for the current stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you meant specifically for set 1. I mean, like when set 1 prices have shot up again, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when set 1 came out, like you basically couldn't play the game unless you were paying exorbitant amounts. And like now new sets come out and they're totally accessible. And I think that's like you could call that buyer fatigue to an extent. But yeah. I think like
but isn't that just better though?
Yeah,
like,
it is just better. Like
it's not a bad thing at all. Yeah.
No, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. Like the whole buyer fatigue, like the idea that I think comes partly from Magic, where they release like so many products often that people feel overwhelmed. They feel like they fall behind, and like it is, it's demanding so much disposable income that it's like it's overwhelming. I don't think that will happen. Also, just like the inherent hype that just dies down over time. I think is happening, has happened, and is like totally good for the game. That being said, they're going to start advertising in set 5, so I'm excited. Like, I hope that they blow the fucking shit out of this game. Like, I hope it goes huge, because there's zero advertising so far, and that's pretty crazy. I mean, there's some, like they're in like some of those magazines, like the IC.
There's
whatever.
very, very small amounts. Yeah.
But like once they start really pushing it behind Disney, I think it could go crazy, which I'm excited for. I think I've been super surprised. It's not relevant to the question, but I am so surprised how interested and how much fun I've had with Lorcana. Like, this is by far like the best card game that I've played, and there's for multiple reasons. Like, maybe the gameplay isn't the best. Like, if I think about what's the best card game gameplay I've ever played? Probably Snap, but that's like massively innovative. But in terms of like keeping me engaged on a daily basis, rotating meta, events to play in person. Like it's insane. Like I pitched this to some of my friends in Flesh and Blood all the time. Is like they look at it from the outside, like, oh, it looks like basic Magic. It's Disney. I'm like, dude, we are hardcore deck building for 3 months. The set comes out, and we are fucking cranking for like 3 months. It's insane.
Yeah, and then you compare it to what you said about the Flesh and Blood stuff, where it's like, well, the deck got tuned by 2 cards or whatever. I mean, maybe it's better now, right? Maybe it's changed, but
yeah, we went through a little downturn there, but yeah, it's just like it's insane. The way there's no sideboarding and how the perfect deck just like never exists. It's just the perfect deck for the event. It's like highly contextual based off what will show up. It's just like it's such an interesting game, and I'm surprised, like because we have an online digital client. Like we are playing shitloads of games. There's so many Lorcana games being played weekly, and it still feels like the meta is never actually like solved because it's dynamic and it it's very contingent on what else is going on in the meta. But I genuinely feel like we are hardcore deck building for 3 months. Like still now, the set's fucking over. The next set is coming out on Friday. Like Moyen's playing green purple for God's sakes. Like what are we doing? It's crazy. It's like it's just such a good card game to play. Like it is so intellectually stimulating, and it's the last thing I expected from Disney Lorcana.
yeah, that's fair to say. Last comment is from Artabax, who, correct me if I'm wrong, Moyen, did Artabax win the TIA event?
Got second.
A second?
Second
Yeah,
to
I know
the
he's
rat,
won.
right?
Yeah, second to the rat. I know Artabax won like one of the first big set 3 tournaments we saw in Germany as well, and I do know for a fact that Artabax set the stage for Emerald Amethyst at the start of the set. So yeah, his comment is, your bashing on Emerald was pretty rude. Instantly defollow. No, jokes aside, another great episode. I always enjoy your content, but you forgot to mention that Emerald Amethyst Tempo is the best deck in the game right now by a large amount. It even got first on Hardcore Ladder, although Moyen took it instantly back from me. Keep up the good work. Yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on the deck, Moyen? You've been playing against it a lot, right?
He's been playing it a lot.
I'm playing it, yeah, right?
So because he got rank 1 and he got second at the tournament, I thought maybe the deck's not that awful. I wouldn't say it's the best deck by a large amount, but I've been testing it and it's been doing all right. The biggest reason I wasn't giving it enough credit is probably that I thought the Emerald Steel matchup was worse than it is. So that's one thing I'm probably like gauntlet testing soon, because on ladder it's fine, but I'm not sure it's like actually fine against good players.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's really good against Ruby Amethyst, and other than Ruby, unlike Ruby Amethyst, it actually beats Red Blue because you just have Merfolk green early game openers. So yes, so I think the deck actually is quite good, and it's also that type of deck where I don't think it will lose to. Like it's a deck that's very good and consistent at beating mid-lane players at mid-lane decks. So it's like it's nothing where you can just brick and lose to Timmy on aggro.
So I have a question, and it's probably going to open like up a bit of a hot topic, and it's probably a bit of a contentious topic. But I hear this concession a lot, where it's like it's a good deck on ladder, but is it good against good players?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do those people exist? Because I agree with you. Like, I have data that is contrary to what I experience on ladder. Like, my data on ladder does not represent what our internal testing always says.
Mm-hmm.
But should you take internal testing as a way to be like, is this the right deck for Lille or Atlanta? At this stage in the game, I genuinely think no. I think ladder is a better representation. It wasn't the set championships. Set championships, like, was way more representative of my ladder experience than my, I have Q against Moyen for 4 hours. Like, it's just not. So, I think it's a better way to establish the objective power of a deck. But this idea that like there's like these good players, and I'm not saying that people are bad. I'm just like I don't know how many people there are that are gonna sort of realize what you're getting on the back end with like internal
how many Moyens there are in
Atlanta
and
it's not just
Lille.
Moyen, because I do think that there's really, really good players in this game, but like which data do you take? And like, because it's really important, because like when you look at something like blue-red, Moyen whoops my ass with blue-red when I play RA. But when I play RA on ladder, when I play to set championships, I do really well against blue-red. And nevertheless, I still think that blue-red is objectively better. And I think that my experience with Moyen is truer to the objective truth of the deck. That being said, like red-purple has a way better matchup spread. Like it does have a stronger matchup spread. It has a smoother matchup spread. It is way more consistent. So if my data is good with that deck, like I'm leaning towards what is, in my opinion, like my opinion, is objectively a less powerful deck. I'm leaning towards that for a tournament, which is something I never do.
Oh, also, yeah, I remember a quote from, I think, last pod where you said, if you don't put the best cards in your deck,
Yeah, you're not
really
the best player. Hey, that's true, though. That's true. That comes from, well, actually, a really famous Magic player, but I would say infamous, actually, infamous, but a Magic player turned Flesh and Blood player, Matthew Fox. And he's got a reputation, but he's very correct with that. Like, there are players that are like, I don't put this card in my deck because I don't need it. It's like, then you're not the best player. Like, but I'm doing it. I know I'm doing the thing. I know it's contrary, but I think I'm going to play red purple because
So I think you have to take both things into consideration. Like, it matters very much how well your deck performs against like the average field, but at the same time, I think at least when it goes as well as we hope, I think at after a few rounds, we should be facing better and better players, and at least in Top Cut, the level will be a lot higher. And the goal is to also get far in Top Cut. So I think you just have to like take both into consideration and then also weight it. But it's very difficult to do.
Yeah, I'm a little bit lost on that one right now for Atlanta and Lille specifically, because we have no touch point, right? We have no idea like how it will actually be. My thesis is that it'll be closer to set championships than it would be to like internal gauntlet testing. And I think that I will opt to choose the deck with the more consistent matchup spread that does not have very, very bad matchups, because I don't know how to predict the meta for something like a 2,000 person tournament. That's insane. That's insane. So I think I'm gonna go with the safer pick, in my opinion, but also objectively the less powerful deck, in my opinion.
I cannot wait to collect all of these clips of Brennan saying he's going to play red purple, and then just
Like blue, right? We haven't started.
Do you see the Twitter post of red blue?
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible. No promises. I'm not committing to anything, but I think I'm playing red blue. Anyway, before we get into spoilers, I guess we already kind of talked about this, but I just want to get an update from you, Moyen, maybe even you, Kyle, because you might be playing the tournament. Like, what deck are you thinking about bringing now? Has it changed at all? Like, you were pretty high on red blue before and red purple, but now you've been playing like green purple. Like, how are you just waiting for that internal gauntlet testing to like really start? Yeah.
I think I need more of that. Right now, I've played like 8 to 10 hours
a lot of
day,
ladder. Yeah.
And it kind of makes you doubt everything. It's not. It doesn't make me doubt everything I know. I still know the things I knew before, but I'm just trying to find something groundbreaking, something that gives me a bigger edge than what I could potentially have on something like Ruby Amethyst or like maybe Ruby Sapphire or even Sapphire Steel. So right now, like, I think Emerald. If I bring any of these Rogue decks where I said Emerald Amethyst and Steel Amethyst have been performing well, I think it's more likely actually to be Emerald Amethyst right now. But I just need to do more internal testing, as I think I've played a lot of ladder already.
Yeah, I won't do it because it's too much effort. But I should have like flashed and post like the Discord screenshot of when writing a couple days ago. Every deck sucks. Like that's how you know someone's playing a lot of ladder. Sure. Yeah, that's how you know someone's playing a lot. Anyway, spoilers. Call, I'll pass over to you. We'll start with Amethyst. And actually, funny thing, Amethyst is almost like the color that has the least. By the way, I'll mention this. We're only talking about spoilers that we think are really, really good, so no bulk, or we think are so bad that they're a great example about how you should think.
You should not design a card.
You should not. No, we're mostly just talking about cards we're interested in this time, because last time we tried to cover the entire set, and oh my goodness. So yeah, this is just cards we specifically picked out. Let's go. Pass over to you. We'll start with the
first one is the Sing Together 10 card with an Amethyst. Second star to the right. 10 cost uninkable. Sing Together 10. Chosen player draws 5 cards. So just a note, you can target the opponent or you can target yourself. So in the future, if there's some crazy mill deck, you can make your opponent draw 5 cards. But why would you play this card when you could just a whole new world them? I don't know.
I can see some Blurple. So I was watching Savige play a lot of Blurple recently. And the issue with that deck,
it's not card draw.
Yeah. Well, no.
The issue also you don't remove anything.
Yeah, the issue with that deck is it gets so far ahead on ink, but it can't do anything with it because it actually does run out of cards. It does run out of card draw, but it also has like 15 ink when the opponent has like 5. I think it could utilize this card because he puts a bunch of characters on board, and then he just can't do anything with it because all those characters suck because they're in blue. But yeah, I don't know. It has a lot of potential, to be honest. Like, this is a really cool control card. It is uninkable. We do have an item coming out in Emerald that makes uninkables inkable, but yeah, I mean, it's really hard to play a super dead card. Like let's say if we added this card to Lorcana right now and no other cards, would this card be playable?
Right now in Amethyst, probably not. No,
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
at
it's
all,
like
no.
all that because Amethyst is the best color for card draw. We can play rabbits, friends, and we can bounce our rabbits, and all of that like does other things and is quite a bit quicker. But also, I guess one thing to point out is that like drawing 5 cards is like more than just a bit better than drawing 2 cards. Like 4 extra cards takes like 4 times as good as drawing 2 cards. No, okay, you're laughing, but I think people can sometimes, if you don't like truly think about it, you could say, okay, like playing friends 3 times would be better, but that nets you 3 extra cards. This nets you like 4 extra cards.
Yeah, true.
You know what? You know what I want to see? I want to see like my opponent use their characters to like sing this amazing song and not quest, and then I'll just a whole new world and get rid of all the cards that they just
Yeah, a whole new
they just
world
drew.
is definitely a card that exists if you're going to be doing things like this. Like it already, whole new world already puts Amethyst players in an interesting position where they need to simultaneously dump their hand, and also maintain card advantage if in case their opponent does not whole new world. But this card, we'll see. I don't think the deck that it goes into exists yet, which is actually interesting. I think a lot of people look at this card and go, "Holy shit! Draw 5 cards, control." But I don't think that there's any real true control deck right now that would want this. Like the most controlling control deck, in my opinion, is blue red, and blue red just doesn't need this card. Like
Blue red has Hiram, Flabbersham.
Well, it has Hiram, but it also has like Tamatoa using recurring things like Popsicle and like drawing you a million cards. Like you would just not play a card this clunky because you have infinitely better things, in my opinion.
You can pair this card. Remember Ultimate Infestation in Hearthstone? That card also dealt 5 damage or something and summoned a 5/5 and drew 5 cards.
But you can't sing Ultimate Infestation for free.
That's true.
You actually have to pay your entire time.
That is true, yeah.
Also, you can choose your opponent, and they have to draw 5 cards.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
If that actually becomes like a use for this card more so, that like that's the true advantage over targeting yourself in like a really weird male archetype. I'm kind of down for it, but maybe again I'll cut to this in like a year's time when Mill is like taking over the meta, and I'm like, why did I want this?
Dude, watch Mill become like a real deck, and then it actually becomes correct to play over 60 cards, and then fuck.
Fuck. No. This whole episode is like, scrap it, bro.
All right.
Next one is, we're going to talk about 2 cards together because they do synergize together. First one is Magic Broom, 1 cost, inkable, 1/2. Quest for 1 with the ability Nice and Tidy. Whenever you play another character, you may banish this character to draw a card. So this card combos with the Amethyst Legendary Yen Sid, 2 cost, inkable, 1/3. That reads, when you play this character, if you have a character named Magic Broom in play, you may draw a card. So 2 cost, draw a card. Not too bad, especially if you're playing the 1 cost Magic Broom on curve. And also has the ability, while you have 2 or more Broom characters in play, this character gets +2 lore. And it already quests for 1 lore. So it's a card that, if the right conditions are met when you play it, you draw a card. And if the board state's right, you quest for 3 with a 2-drop. You think?
I don't see it. Wait, but before we go into it, can you explain this border to the people?
Oh, the border. Yeah. So a lot of people have probably seen Yensid with the kind of bluish, floodborny border. But that's just from Ursula's Return. The oh god, I don't even know what it's called, but it's like the PvE co-op expansion thing. So just to be clear, and please, people in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong, because I know I messed this up before. But I'm pretty sure you cannot play with these versions of these cards in standard decks. It's literally just for...
I hope that's not true.
I
like the border. It's cool. I like that. I want to play it. That would be fucked up.
Oh, it's cool. I think... Well, I don't know. Like, I think it is, because then isn't like this and the Mulan, like, I don't know, like you're getting legendaries in stuff. I don't know. I thought that the case was that you couldn't. Actually, wait, what I'm thinking of is probably just that people thought, yeah, I remember now. I was thinking that they're only exclusive to this expansion, but you can get these legendaries in normal packs as well. So yes, please, people, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe you can just play them, because as Brendan said, you would definitely play them, right?
I want to play the one with the cool border. What?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the power level. We're role playing over here.
I want to start off, and this is going to start things on a downer, but I don't think broom decks are there yet. Please correct me. Come back to this when maybe there's a broom deck in the meta. But it seems like it's getting there for sure.
Set 1 broom believers that were 3 months behind the meta when the set was over are disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think if it does cantrip, that's actually like quite powerful. A 2-cost 1/3 that draws a card. That's quite good. It's just how often will you get it to cantrip, and then that it also has the upside of sometimes questing for 3 would be great in the correct deck. So this is like the type of card that is powerful if brooms are powerful, or that also gives you like somewhat of a reason to play brooms that are not powerful enough on their own.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see it like I don't see it as like a ultra competitive deck. I think it's cool as a tribal or typal deck. I don't know what the term is. I think that's cool. I think it's cool, but I don't see Yensid immediately going into like any Amethyst deck that is going to be tier 1 at this point, which is fine.
Sure. Next card is 4-cost inkable 3/3 Ariel, quest for 2 with Singer 7. So
And
this
Amber,
card's
by the
gonna in Amber, it's gonna help out with a lot of the Sing Together cards. Do you think the Sing Together cards always go in a deck with this card, or do you think you'd ever play like if the Sing Together cards didn't exist? Do you think you'd put this card in the deck over like the 3-cost Ariel? You know, because like there's no notable songs over 5 right now in the meta.
This
Be prepared.
I mean, no, this be prepared, but I'm trying to think of like Amber plus Ruby.
Amber,
Do you really, you know what I mean?
Amber is not B prep in its own board. I don't think. I mean, maybe if they're like triple Mufasa, B prep my own board. But
no, if it's like a deck that plays lots of late game draws cards type thing, then like singing B prep and playing something behind it is great, and that on a 4 drop.
Yeah. I think it's going to be. It'll facilitate some Sing Together strategies. I could see it in a whole new world strategies, like whole new world with some Sing Together things, like just turbo dumping your hand, playing a million songs. Like we'll see.
Yeah, I guess for just only world, we also have the Gaston. Maybe Gaston songs are going up, which is the 3-cost 3/3 Sing 5.
Yeah.
Yep. And the next one is Minnie Mouse, 5-cost uninkable 1/5 quest for 2 with Bodyguard. When you play this character, banish chosen opposing character with 5 attack or more. So this is World's Greatest Criminal Mind attached to a card. I was saying to Moyne earlier, it's like a more restrictive Dragonfire attached to a body for 5, which is quite good, but it just depends how many characters within the meta realistically have 5 attack or more. Like if I'm playing this against Tamatoa, I'm feeling pretty good because Tamatoa right now is like in the decks I play is the hardest card for me to deal with. When that comes down, it is such a big card for me to deal with that it's tough. But I don't know, this card is just kind of gonna be maybe meta dependent if it's gonna see play or not. But like, do you think it could see play?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is like I feel like it doesn't hit too many things outside of Tamatoa that are super meta relevant. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's like Maui, Scar, Maleficent.
Also, if you're playing this on curve, it's like how often do they have like a character with a lot of attack on curve, and then Brent's like, yeah, so you play some 5, and then there's Medusa, and then you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of people talking about that on Twitter, how Medusa just negates a lot of cards, which I currently think is okay. It could become unokay eventually, but yeah, it's just the reality. Like Medusa kind of owns this thing. I don't know. I feel like the Lorcana, the general.
It's also sorry to interrupt. It's also in Amber, which it just feels weird that this is in Amber, right?
Well, World's Greatest Criminal Mind is an Amber,
and it's a bodyguard.
Yeah,
bodyguard is Amber.
The thing is like the Lorcana meta, I think, trends downwards in terms of power and cost of pretty much everything. Like that's just how the power level of cards goes. They tend towards the cheaper cards as more powerful cards enter the format. Like you look at any Eternal formats, they tend to get cheaper progressively. Like Modern is cheap, Legacy is cheaper, Vintage is the cheapest. Like things are free. To do a Magic the Gathering reference, but yeah, it's funny because you compare it to Dragonfire. I think it's like. It's infinitely more restrictive than Dragonfire. I mean, Dragonfire hits anything. But having that ability on a body is really good. The problem is, in the current metagame of Lorcana, I don't think it's hitting anything super relevant. You could hit Tamatoa, but is that good enough to have a 5 uninkable in your deck? Because it's not hitting much else.
So I think the biggest issue of the card is just because it's uninkable, you will need to play it out a decent amount of times, even when you don't have a target. Because as we see with World's Greatest Criminal Mind, it is sometimes played as a tech card, but it's like extremely important that it's inkable. It would never be played if it was uninkable, because of sometimes it's very, very good if it hits, but most of the time it doesn't hit anything. So for this card to be even okay, you would need to not feel bad about playing a 5-cost 1/5 quest for 2 bodyguard, and I think you will feel terrible about that. So I think this card will not see play for. I mean, there could be like very specific metas where it does, but I think it's unlikely this card will see a lot of play.
I was just having a little chuckle to myself that I prefaced our spoilers with saying we picked out all the cards we really like, and then we went 5 in a row. These cards suck. Well,
okay, we said these cards are interesting.
They are interesting. Interesting. They're good. Yeah. They're good examples for why some of these cards don't see play, because, like Moyen said, and they're not bad cards. Like they're not. Yeah. Anyway, these colors in particular,
amethyst,
amethyst and amber, get the least exciting things, probably.
Which is fine, because they're already quite powerful.
Yeah, they're busted.
But every color is kind of powerful right now.
Yeah.
Next one's it's an emerald card, 5-cost inkable song. We don't talk about Bruno. Return chosen character to their player's hand, then that player discards a card at random. What do we think?
I think it's quite good.
I think it's quite good.
Because it's an inkable song. And that's
inkable song with like a quite a good effect, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's not.
Who's singing this?
Who's singing this? My first answer is always Ariel. I don't know what color combination we're playing.
Yeah, I mean that's a good honestly that's a good answer. The issue with Emerald right now is I feel like Emerald is like super pigeonholed into these like low cost discard strategies because some of those cards are super pushed. But I do think that like when we look at Emerald cards, like there's a lot of other things that are potentially viable. They just get overshadowed by this cheap discard package that is facilitated by Prince John and things like that. I wonder when we're going to break out of the mold of that, because it happened last time with us. We looked at Milo. You remember that card? And we were like, this card looks pretty good, but it does not compare to some of the other things you could be doing in Emerald. So unfortunately, why play that? Why play that strategy?
Yeah. So I guess the biggest downside of bouncing a card is that we are, with every set, I think we're going more towards a spot in the meta where you really want all of your cards, especially if they cost like more than 1 or 2, you want them to do something when they're played.
Yeah.
And bouncing cards that already did something has a lot less value than if you just bounce, let's say, a Robin Hood that was played on 5. Also, we have more shift characters that already shift in, sing a song, or shift in and already quest. And then sometimes this effect can lose some of its value. But I think baseline, this card still does a lot because it does both bounce plus they have to discard one, which they won't discard the card that you bounce if they want to keep it. So they would still get to keep the card and discard a worse card if they want to. But I think just this baseline strong effect on an inkable song.
Well, sorry, it's not if they want to. It's random, right?
It's random.
Yeah, they don't choose the card that they discard.
Okay, I mean I thought the card was good when they get to choose. Now it's even better.
Yep. Next one is signed contract with an emerald. It's an item 2-cost inkable. Whenever an opponent plays a song, you may draw a card. I don't know. It seems a bit slow to me, because like you play this and then every time, like, do you think you play this and then your opponent's thinking, oh, does your opponent think, oh, if I play the song, they draw a card, or they just play the song anyways and like it doesn't?
I mean, it depends. All their songs are text now.
I think this card is insane. I think this card is super good because, like, I don't know, it's asymmetrical, but a lot of these decks nowadays are really predicated on casting a lot of songs. Most green decks actually, like green purple, cast a lot of songs, like because they play Ursala Singer, and that card is broken. I think this card just adds a ton of asymmetry to the board. And like you stack multiple, like honestly, one is fine, but if you stack multiples up, like what is your opponent doing? Half your deck just gets you value. Like what?
It's actually interesting. This card against Sudden Chill is they discard a card, you just get a card, right? Like they play the song, you discard a card, and then you draw a card.
Yeah.
And also you can for a card, for example, like Sudden Shield, you can choose if you want to draw the card first or if they discard and then you draw. So it's interesting.
I guess then I will argue against it if you're arguing for it, because I think the card can be very powerful, but so if it's not for some edge case, at least in the current meta, if it's not for some edge cases like Amber Steel where they play an infinite amount of song, let's say Ruby Amethyst, how much songs do they play? They play like 4 friends, 3 B prep. And as soon as you use an entire turn 2 to plot down this item, I'm inking all my friends. Suddenly my friends are not netting me a card, they're like equal. Which there's some value in that, but still, because all of their songs are inkable, maybe it's fine. Same for like Emerald Amethyst, they also just play 4 friends, maybe 4 Mother Knows Best, that could be like somewhat stuck then. But I think for these decks that play like 4 inkable, 4 uninkable songs, 8 songs in total, I think they could totally play around this. But still, like I think this is still a card with meta impact as against something like Amber Steel. I think this would be insane.
Yeah, I think it's one of those cards that should not go immediately into a deck. Should not just be like a staple in any sort of archetype. But like heading into a major tournament, if people can accurately predict the metagame correctly, like you can see this show up in a deck and just absolutely roll a tournament because it's a powerful effect.
Also, I think there's another dynamic that we should talk about, which is Emerald has like one of the best cards in the game in the 2-cost Ursala that makes your opponent discard a song. And there's some anti-synergy in discarding their song that would net you a card anyways.
Yeah.
True. Maybe
Makes
it goes
sense.
in a different deck, though. Yeah, maybe it's in a different deck.
Yeah, but then am I not playing 2-cost Ursala in my Emerald deck? That I don't know if that...
It comes back to the conversation, like, can we get out of this cheap discard Emerald package? Because that's the best thing that the color can do.
I think it's a great tech card. Like, it's a fantastic tech card, in my opinion.
Okay.
Next one. Moyen, do you want to introduce this card?
It's Pegasus, gift for Hercules. A 1-cost, 1/1 evasive. This card is insane. I've been playing... How is this not insane?
It's Pascal, isn't it?
Yeah,
no, it's not conditional.
Better Pascal.
It's so much better.
Power creep Pascal.
It's significantly better than Pascal. Pascal is a good card, and I've had a good amount of success with playing Pascal in different decks. And I think Emerald is also, as a color, really profits of this, being able to quest without actually having to interact with your opponent's board, which is like build a big board and just your evasive quest every turn, and the rest keeps your opponent's board in check. Sorry.
I'm just looking here as well. This is very probably irrelevant. Actually, I kind of think it is relevant. So Pegasus is a common card, and Pascal's an uncommon card. But Pegasus is better, right? Like.
Yeah, Pegasus is just better.
Is just better, yeah.
Also, I think I don't know how much we need to talk about Pegasus. It's a 1/1 evasive. It's very good. It's also very good for the curves where you just go 1-drop on 1 into 2 more 1-drops, and then could be already like 2 Pegasuses or 3. Or maybe some Pascals along the way.
Pegasi.
A flock of
do you think
Pegasi?
Do you think you could play this in the Emerald lists now more in that only? Because I'm pretty sure most of the Emerald lists they're only doing like the unless they're paired with Amethyst and maybe they run more than 4 Merfolk. But like if you're just doing 1-drops in Emerald, would you do like 4 Merfolk, 4 Pegasus, maybe, or even 2 Pegasus? It does depend on the deck. But
Totally do it. So the only issue with running like 4 Merfolk for Pegasus is that sometimes you go second and they play a 1-drop that you want to banish. And then all your 1-drops having 0 or 1 strength can be an issue. So having some 1-drops as an option that also can banish stuff when on the draw can be good. But still, I think you could definitely run 4 Pegasus for Merfolk in an Emerald deck. Also, we should talk about the Shift Pegasus probably next.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Okay, we can lead into that. So the next one is Pegasus 5-cost inkable 3/3 quest for 2 Shift 3, also with evasive ability. When you play this character, if you used Shift to play him, your characters gain evasive until the start of your next turn. So I can see this package working, and like you said, you've got like kind of like the Merfolk or like some like really aggressive cards. You just give them all evasive, and your opponent can't touch them, and you just Giga Quest to win. It's pretty interesting.
It seems pretty good. Like that's a 3/3 the quest for 2 evasive. Like that's pretty nuts.
And all the other evasives, they're mini or they're 2/3s. Like mini Pongo is played in some decks, then there's the Tinkerbell 2/3. I think a 3/3 evasive is vastly different and compares very favorably against the other evasives in the meta. That being said, there is some 2-3 evasives that already exist, and there's some Ruby one that also gets to choose next set.
Yeah, I guess that the biggest thing about this card is it's if you like for 5, it's like actually really bad because you just compare this to Ray, which is 5 cost inkable 3/3 that quest for 3, and also like if you play Ray, well, it just dies to like Medusa and stuff. I think the thing about this card is that you really want to be doing the shift because that's the powerful thing about it. I think the fact that it's just a 5 cost 3/3 quest for 2, it's good. It's not bad, but we've already basically seen that in the meta, and there's not really a slot for it. But
5 cost 3/3 is not good.
Yeah.
But
5 cost 3 power is a hard place to be in current era.
So this needs to be shifted, but the 1 cost Pegasus is a great card, so it can easily be shifted. Plus, I think we might get a resurgence of a very specific discard card that up until this point you needed to go Robin Hood on 1, Bucky on 2, Robin Hood on 3 to play a Floodborn on 3. But this is also a Floodborn that's shiftable on 3. So you could play Bucky with 2 shift targets that are Floodborns.
That sounds pretty good.
Yep, you'll catch me playing Steel in set 4.
You could also pair it with Blue Fairy in Amethyst.
True.
Yeah.
So I think in general, from what I've seen, there's lots of Floodborns and also like even cheaper Floodborns being added, which could make all the Floodborn payoff cards better that we already have.
Yeah, so you heard it here first. Moyne is playing Emerald. He's already playing Emerald, but he may really be playing Emerald next set.
I'm playing everything. I play too much.
Next one is Megra 3 cost uninkable 3/6 with an Emerald. Quest for 2. When you play this character, choose and discard a card or banish this character. Do we think it's like you literally getting rid of a card in your hand for what would you say, for like 3 health or like
it's tempo?
I would say that.
It's like
No. I know it's for tempo, but like the extra stats, right? I'm trying to think like I guess the 3/3. Yeah, 3/3. The quest for 2 is like standard. That's like a Mickey Mouse for that, right? So you're basically getting rid of a card for 3 health, but then this card is also uninkable.
Yeah, 3 health on turn 2 is a lot though.
It is, yeah. It's like when you shift into a Robin Hood, yeah. Yeah, turn 3.
What do you think?
I think it's not good enough. I think it's not like the game isn't fast and aggressive enough where I think your opponent will have time to get back onto the board, even if you have like a little bit above weight 3-drop because it costs you 2 cards.
There's no way to like cheat,
especially because it's uninkable.
Yeah, there's no way to cheat this card. Like I'm thinking, Hearthstone one where it's like Dirty Rat and stuff where like you just pull it and then it kind of survives. But I think for this, when this says when you play this character, like there's no way in Lorcana where it says like no matter how you're putting a card from your hand into the battlefield, you are playing the card. So you would always discard the card.
This card would maybe be better if you could at least play it as the last card in your hand and it survives. But they also got rid of that. So I don't see it really.
And then the last Emerald card is the legendary Diablo 3 cost uninkable 2/2. Quest for 1, shift, discard an action card. I don't think that part of the card is that relevant, to be honest, but it is an evasive with the ability during each opponent's turn, whenever they draw a card while this character is exerted, you may draw a card. So we were discussing this. I know this was a discussion on Twitter as well. If you had an exerted Diablo on your side of the board, it was your opponent's turn. They did let the Storm Rage on to target the Diablo. There's a lot of discussion on Twitter trying to figure out, does the Diablo die? Can the Diablo actually trigger before it dies? So
what's the answer?
Yeah, I'm just going to ask. Listen, we were discussing it already. I'm just going to ask you guys, what is the answer? Let us know down below.
I think you're asking me. I was like, I assume.
Yeah, I'm asking them.
I think the Diablo dies first because there's a period, right? On the Let the Storm Rage On says, do the thing, period, draw a card.
Yeah, but I don't think it I think actions resolve as one, if that makes sense. So the damage counters are on it and then it draws a card, but the card doesn't die. I could be wrong. That's what we were kind of discussing, but let us know down below. Oh, actually, this is not the last Emerald card, but go ahead, Moyne.
Yeah, so I think right now we have an Amethyst. We have a 1/2/1 Diablo that's pretty bad. But shifting this on 2 is kind of nice because you can like already exert it on turn 2. So you make the card back that you lost for shifting already. I guess you've used 3 cards to get it on the board, but getting it down a turn early also nets you with a card earlier. But also very important, it's a 3-cost evasive, and it can be like the cheapest sort of draw 2 a turn card that we have. Right? We have 5-cost Beast, we have 4-cost Donald Duck, that can be like draw 2 cards a turn. But Diablo can just net you 1 card a turn if left unchecked, and it's not super easy to check it that early before it gets some card draw. Plus, it's a 3-cost Floodborn for Bucky and Blue Fairy type stuff again.
That is very true. The last emerald, the actual last emerald card we have here is a Sing Together, 8-cost and inkable Under the Sea. Put all opposing characters with 2 attack or less on the bottom of their players' decks in any order. If this was to Sing Together, my mind would be like, oh my god, it's like a 8-cost weird B prep that you ramp to and try and get all of your opponent's stuff down to the bottom of their deck. But I don't know, the card's cool. I know a lot of people were talking about you can combo this with Kita, because Kita you minus everything by 3 and then maybe that gets them to 2 and you kind of do the Sing Together and banish it. Amber Emerald. But
what do you mean, meh?
Bro. Imagine- I'm playing Kita and an 8-cost uninkable Song in my deck. What fucking deck am I playing?
But some Ember deck where you also have like you have an Ariel on the board that drew you this, for example, and then you have any other shitter, and then you just go Kita Under the Sea. Your stuff's under the sea, under your deck. GG.
Okay, the Ariel always sells me because the Ariel is like, so good. Anything
I mean, if you're playing Kita, then it's the same color as Ariel.
Yeah.
Maybe. I didn't actually want to say that the card's good. I just didn't like.
But for
I don't
that,
think it's
for that
terrible.
particular line, mine, right, you would need to have you need your 1 or your 2 drop to also be like a Singer 3 because.
Kita comes down on 5.
Oh, so Kita's 5, right? So maybe it's fine. Yeah, sure.
And it doesn't need to come down as early as possible. You can literally like build a board against some decks that don't wipe. If you're playing against a non-Ruby deck, you can just build a board and not exert your stuff until you go Kita Under the Sea. Bang! I actually see some potential now.
Okay.
I didn't think about Kita.
Selling me.
The problem is without Kita, kind of unplayable, or without something that makes
it's like playing
better.
Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo without 4 supporting cards that all come in a perfect sequence.
It's only
I'll pass the Ruby cards over to you, Brennan, since it's one of your favorite colors.
First one is Snuggly Duckling, 2-cost Ruby Location, 2-cost to move, 9 willpower. Says Routine Ruckus. When a character with 3 or more power challenges another character while here, gain 1 more. If the challenging character has 6 or more, gain 3 Lord sets. So the whole idea is the Scar thing, right? Like you bump the Scar and then you gain.
I don't think it's the whole idea, but like that's a good combo. I mean, it seems
expensive to move
pretty good.
Here. Like 2 to move is a lot.
Oh wait, okay. Okay, you guys keep talking. There's another card we forgot to grab, which I have to grab because I think it's
okay.
It
so
helps out. With
while
this.
you do that, I think the big strength of this is like 2-cost inkable 9 willpower is like very much above weight, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't quest for anything, so your opponent might be like, okay, I can ignore this, but if they want to deal with it, that's quite expensive for them to do so. And if they don't, I think you can just sometimes, when you're challenging with a character anyways, move it there for 2 if you can fit that in for like 1 or 3 lore. I think it can be good. And then yes, it has this like huge late game potential with a 6 to 9 willpower Scar. If you have like maybe Fishhook or something.
Yeah, the only thing that gets me is the cost to move is really, really expensive.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
Yeah. So,
but I think if the cost to move was 1, I think the card would be great.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I think like this, it still has potential.
Yeah, the card I added, and you guys can tell me if you think it's good or bad. I think it's all right.
Yeah. But
you think it's bad?
I saw it. Yeah, I was looking at it before, but we'll get into it. All right, the next one is Brawl. Ruby, 3-cost inkable action. Says banish chosen character with 2 or less attack. Shadow Word Pain. Moin doesn't like it though.
No, Shadow Word Pain costs 2 and it removes with 3 or less attack. This is not Shadow Word Pain.
Could you imagine if Shadow Word Pain existed in this game?
Yes, we can actually get rid of all those Ruby decks. Or those Emerald decks, I mean. But I digress. I don't know. I think that it's like irrelevant. It's a relevant tool to deal with some of these emerald small clusters that make you sometimes 2-for-1 yourself. Like you still have to discard. It's like teeth. It's a little bit better than like the teeth argument. The argument of teeth is like you get the damage counters and you have to discard teeth anyway. This, you don't get any other downside other than having like this potentially bad card in your deck.
How good do you feel about playing Smash so you can remove a Merfolk?
Bro, I'm playing Ruby though.
I know, but
who's playing
in Steel? You also like that's nothing that you want to be doing. You would rather like play a character that contested and say, okay, I just got a cut.
It's a good point. It's a good point actually. That like even if you have a better version of this in Steel, it's not that good. Like it's extremely.
I'm not saying
expensive.
Smash is better than this, but I think this is incredibly expensive. Plus, the stuff that is more expensive than, let's say, okay, the characters that cost more than Brawl. So the characters that cost 4 or more ink, that have 2 or less strength, they do something on play. They are like Rabbit, Rapunzel. So I think it's hard to really trade up on this, but it's still nice to have like some inkable removal in Ruby that doesn't shoot your own character. So that's a step in the right direction, but I don't think it's like
it's not a song though, so you can't play it for free.
Yeah, the thing is like a lot of the things, a lot of characters that cost more than 3, that have 2 or less attack, they're either extremely impactful in play, or they've already moved out of the meta because they get Medusa. Because like the higher something costs and it gets Medusa, like it's something you try to avoid, right? You don't play.
You can answer a ramped out Flaversham before it draws twice, which before Ruby Amethyst.
I think hitting Flaversham with this is very relevant.
Yeah.
But Flaversham, they play it and they still get 2 cards.
Can't imagine playing this in any deck that is not blue-red.
Oh, also, I guess I haven't looked through all the synergy cards, but maybe there's some like nice synergy piece where you go like cheaply go minus strength on an opposing character, and then Brawl could be better. But like on its own, I actually don't think
there's some of that in blue, but ultimately I don't think it works right. Like, the cards would literally have to like do this and just like draw cards or something, right? Like it just had to be like such a solid card. So go ahead for the next one, Brendan.
All right, next up we have Goofy Super Goof. It's a 4-cost inkable 2/4, says Rush. It has Rush, and it says Super Peanut Powers. When this character challenges another character, gain 2 lore, it quests for 1. I mean, a lot of people are super hyped about this. It's also an enchanted card, by the way.
I'm literally pasting it in right now. I think the enchanted version of this card is sick. Yeah. I think it's really, really cool.
Moin, what are your thoughts on a 4-cost inkable 2/4 Rush? I mean, the 2 lore is not nothing, but it's not really...
No, it's not nothing. Yeah. It's great.
It wasn't the first like angle I was evaluating it on, was the 2 lore, just like 2/4 Rush at 4 costs.
So imagine if 4 cost 2/4 Rush inkable is probably still bad. I think it would need to have like 3 strength to be really good. But as this 4 cost 2/3, I think its biggest strength is like going into a shadow, surviving, and then your opponent still needs to deal with it. And then it's mostly just it's very similar to Goat, as it's like this okay card that's like below weight, but it gives you immediate lore. Goat also gives 2 lore if it's not bounced, but a little bit delayed. Goofy gives you 2 lore immediately. Also,
conditional 2 lore immediately though.
Yeah, they need a character, and I guess you could have something like Shield of Virtue down. Maybe you can get 4 lore if it survives one attack. But I think just as this 2/4 Wash that gains you 2 lore, I think that's already quite the good card.
Interesting. Yeah. The main thing I like about it is the 4 defense. Like that's a lot in Lorcana. Like 3 is very, very much a break point.
I want some super peanut powers.
All right. Next one is from Kawa. 2-cost inkable Lumiere. 2/2. Dreamborn ally says your other characters get +1 attack and a quest for 1. So the whole idea about this is dodging Medusa, right?
Not the whole idea, but it's honestly not the whole idea. Yeah. I wouldn't even say it's the main idea. I think it would help in matchups, but this is the type of if this card had ward, I think it would be really good.
Yeah,
because your opponent just can't touch this, and everything has +1 attack, but it doesn't have ward. So yeah.
But I would also side with Kari here that the main point to me is just playing this, and then this just sits on my board, but my other characters can quest, and they're harder to trade into favorably for your opponent. And then on top of that, maybe sometimes it can play around Medusa.
Yeah.
Not sure how strong that is, but it's definitely a powerful effect where you can just let this sit and let the others do the questing work.
I could see play. I just don't know like how much play. Like it could be maybe it's played a bit, maybe it's not good enough. But like I can see the potential of the card. For sure.
Also, if you have 3 Lumieres on the board, your Scar already attacks for 9.
Your Maui one taps all 7.
Castle, that is probably relevant, right? Yeah, maybe.
Oh
no, maybe you just played the other Maui, the bad
it's a 7
Maui.
strength rush.
Yeah. I think I would rather play this and Maui than Hercules. Like Hercules is terrible. All right, next one is Mulan, 6 cost in Ruby, 2/6 Floodborn Hero Princess has Shift 5, a quest for 2, and it says when you play this character, if you use Shift a player, she gets +3 attack this turn. It also says during your turn, whenever this character deals damage to another character in a challenge, deal the same amount of damage to up to 2 other characters. I think it's quite good.
You guys, okay, I'm gonna say something which is kind of actually very irrelevant. But mine, would you prefer if this card? I mean, the card's honestly better because it just says up to 2 other chosen characters. But from a ex Hearthstone player, would you have preferred this to say adjacent, so that funny there's like some positioning stuff in Lorcana that you have to think about?
You've been playing too much Pixel Bar.
Why can I guess? I mean, It does add some skill where there are these cards.
It does, right? Yeah, because you have to think about positioning then. And it truly is chess.
Yeah, but I don't know if I really need that, because when Hearthstone was mostly like there was always some niche cards that cared about this. And then you were like, you're playing against some deck. So for example, there was Crushing Walls. It was like 7 cost spell.
It would kill the left and right.
Left and right. And then you had to like, if you were playing perfectly against some decks where adjacent, like it doesn't matter where you position your characters, but still, with this card they could generate Crushing Walls somehow. So I have to play one Crushing Walls. But they could also generate this card where maybe they deal like 5 to this character and 2 to the adjacent ones.
Yeah.
And then my big one should be
explosive shot.
Yeah. So that I don't know.
So it's a good thing, right? Stuff. Okay, it's a good thing. Yeah, sure.
What are your thoughts?
Brandon, sorry, back to you. What do you?
Pass over to mine. What are your thoughts on Mulan?
So the dice to Medusa, but other than that, I think the card, if you get to shift it, right now I don't think we have great shift targets, but if you do get to shift it, it literally like blows up an entire board. I think the potential is definitely there, but only when it's shifted.
Also, players should probably recognize if there's a pretty relevant Mulan that is going to be shifted upon all the time, then players like, it's coming to turn 5, I probably shouldn't exert my character, because if they have the shift, they blow up my board. You know?
But that's good for you if they don't exert their characters.
Of course. No, yeah.
Who added Tuk Tuk? Who's the
me?
Tuk Tuk?
Oh God, no, don't do this to me.
Tuk Tuk. All right, we got. Do you want me to talk about Tuk Tuk?
So Tuk Tuk is a 3-cost inkable 2/3 quest for 1 evasive. When you play this character, you may move him and one of your other characters to the same location for free. The other character gets +2 attack this turn. Okay, the more all I'll say is the more I think about the curve of this, it's not great, because you play Snuggly Duckling on 2 and then you play Tuk Tuk, so you'd need to have like a 1. Do you know what card you'd need? And this probably wouldn't even work. You'd need like Felicia or something like that as the 1-drop. Right?
You know what you need? Not to play Tuk Tuk.
Okay,
or
fair.
Strength character.
Can't play Tuk Tuk. I don't know. I don't believe in the Tuk Tuk. I looked at it, but 2/3 is such a bad stat line, and this effect I don't think is modern. And
2/3 evasive?
Yeah, I don't even like it as evasive, to be honest. I don't.
It's a 2/3 evasive. Okay, take out the location part. It's a 2/3 evasive that when you play it. Oh wait, does the card have to move to the location to give it the +2 attack? Oh, okay.
The card's character, you may move him and one of your other characters to the same location for free. The other character gets
yeah.
No, it says may. You may move.
Yeah, but does
then,
the +2 strength happen even if you didn't move? Probably.
Yeah, there's a period.
I mean, then the card's
no, but then it says the other character. But then if you're not doing the may, then how does it know what the other character is? I don't know.
I mean, just the card character that I chose
shouldn't it
not
say
to
like
move.
another? I don't know. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna
Because-
put out a PSA right now. A job posting. We're looking for a fourth pod member who actually knows the fucking rules of the game.
But just as a 2/3 evasive that gives +2, it's not that much worse than a crab, is it? How much?
But we need to. But Moin, we need to figure out if it does give the plus. Because
No,
if it
yeah, but
doesn't, then it's true.
if it does, is it a good card then, Bren, or no?
I don't know. How is like our pitch for cards? Like it's not that much worse than a crab. It's like
No, crab is a good card.
I know. We
Crab's
just played
a
the
very
crab
good
though.
card.
I mean, I guess ruby.
It's a different color. But
Mhm.
also crab's kind of good because it's a lot better in amethyst than it would be in other
Oh, yeah.
colors because
Bounce.
Cusco, Rabbit are so much better at the +3.
I also
with
think
the +3.
activating it multiple times is like nuts as well. Like the ability to
There
do
can
that.
be.
Yeah, on demand. All right, on to Sapphire, which is not our last color. We still have steel to this. Oh man, we gotta get through this. All right, so we got the Queen, which is a Sapphire 3/3, 3-cost inkable Dreamborn villain Queen Sorcerer. Oh my goodness! It says consult the spellbook. Look at the tap. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal an item card and put it in your hand. If that item was 3. Cost 3 or less, you may play it for free, and it enters play exerted. Put the rest in the bottom of your deck in any order in this quest for 1. It's a tap ability.
What
so
are we
scares
pulling?
me.
What are we pulling? What are we pulling?
What are we pulling?
Popsicle.
Popsicle. Yeah, I mean, like we
Yeah.
can't play. Like all the other items are bad, right? I mean, you're not.
No,
Yeah,
pulling
because you want
I guess
because you
if
want
you
you
miss
want to
your
pull
quill-
stuff that you want to pull items that have a good enter the battlefield effect, and right now that is
Draw
just
card is
popsicle, I
pretty
think,
good.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Or the Great Stone Dragon,
Mhm.
maybe.
Oh, because it comes into play exerted anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
just think
double
that this
exerted,
card.
so it's actually ready.
Yeah, I think the tap, like we've seen this before, right? Tap effect cards
Yep.
have just not been a thing in Lorcana
Yeah,
because they
it
can't
just-
get enough value. Yeah. But
Yeah,
it's
this
important
is-
to talk about because it's an enchanted. I mean, they think it's good.
No, I think the card's not bad, but
Yeah.
That does
Yeah.
not, Brandon. I will say that's not a measure for if they. I would not. There are some bad enchanted cards, my friend.
There's some bad enchanted cards that Ravenberger thought were good. All right.
Okay.
Next one is Scuttle. Sapphire card again, 2-cost, inkable, 1/3, storyborn ally, quest for 1. It says, when you play this character, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal an item card and put it in your hand. Put the rest of the bottom of your deck in any order. What do you think? 2-cost potential.
Moin, you don't like this, right?
I mean, on the basis of would this go into the current Ruby Sapphire or Ruby or Sapphire Steel builds that do play items, I'm not convinced. But like the card obviously is pretty good. It's a 2-cost 1/3 that like kind of draws your card a lot of a decent amount of the time in the right deck. That filters, you can choose. 2-cost 1/3 isn't that bad. Like 2-cost 1/3 that draws when it draws a card, it's pretty good. It's just I guess in like right on the basis of how would decks look right now, it's like okay, Sapphire Steel wants to really contest the board on 2. They don't really want to play 1/3 instead of their Smee, which is very important for them to survive the early game. In Ruby Sapphire, you really want to just go 1 jump ahead. You don't care that much about your item that you would forgo the 1 jump ahead ever. So on the basis of that, maybe I don't see it, but still it's a good card that could definitely find a home, I think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
1 jump ahead is such an interesting card. It's just so much better than like every other 2 mana play, I feel like. Just like
Yeah, it's like it's by far the best card on turn 2, and starting on turn 3, it's a bad card.
yeah. Right.
Most of the time.
Next one is Great Stone Dragon, 3-cost inkable item, and Sapphire says this item enters play exerted, and it says tap, put a character from your discard into your inkwell face down and exerted. So it's kind of like Fishbone Quill, but obviously there's condition. You have a character in your graveyard, but if you do, you don't eat the downside of Fishbone Quill, which is discard a card.
Well, this also Fishbone Quill. It's not exerted, right? Like this actually, this is just ramp.
Yeah.
As in like you just put the card down on it. It's already exerted. It's not like with Fishbone Quill, you get that extra ink.
So you don't get it on turn 3.
Yeah.
I think the card is bad, but other people have thought the card was good. Like,
But it enters play exerted, so you don't get a turn 3.
Yeah.
And then turn 4, you get an exerted ink.
Yeah.
So like the first turn you could get the ink would be like turn 5.
Yeah.
Have the extra ink in play.
Yeah.
Like, and active. But still, Also, getting all these characters in play can be quite rough.
Yeah, this card seems freaking terrible, dude. I don't know. Like, I've seen people talk about it online, but it seems so bad. Like, I mean, you really crystallized it there. Turn 3 is freaking exerted, and you also take your turn off. Turn 4, you activate it, and then the ink is exerted. Like, this card is so bad.
And turn 4, you can only activate it if any of your turn 1 or 2 characters die.
So you have to be playing like probably Sapphire Steel, or exactly not doing your 1 jump ahead thing and doing the Queen if it's Ruby Sapphire, right?
But it's not. This is not a turn 3 card. It's more like a turn. You play this like turn 7-ish.
Yeah, like a Heart of Tefiti-esque kind of thing.
Yeah, but without having to pay the 2 extra ink. So I think maybe matchup dependent, it can still like in a position where you're like on 7-8 ink, and then you're already some bot combat happen. You can plot this down, and suddenly you can ink less cards, so like you can save up some cards in your hand because you have.
Do you think you can be tapping this every turn? Like you have to be in the right deck, because like you'd literally have to have enough characters in your discard to make sure you can kind of be.
If you're in a blue-red mirror, you probably would. Like your shit's getting Medusa, it's getting B prepped. Like, I mean, you got a lot of stuff in your graveyard.
Yeah. So the thing is, you don't get a character in your discard every turn, but when you play this, maybe you already have 3-4 characters there, hopefully, and then sometimes you get an extra one. So like it will take a while until it can't get ink anymore.
So I understand where it's like, okay, you play this late game, it's like a Heart of Tefiti, you don't have to pay for it, but I think this card is terrible. I don't think it'll see any play.
Sure. Yeah.
All right.
I think it's possible it sees play, but not very likely.
Yeah. All right, next one is Ariel's Grotto. 2 cost, inkable location. Cost 2 to move, 7 willpower. Treasure Trove. When you have 3 more items in play, this location gets +2 lore.
I don't like it.
Or why?
I don't like
it. Talk about it. Why is it bad?
Okay.
Why I think it's bad? Okay, go ahead.
Anybody.
No, okay, you can go first.
I just think it's bad because I don't know how consistently you're going to have 3 more items in play, honestly. Even in the current Ruby Sapphire deck, because I know at some stages you can, but the idea is you play your cheap items, you're cycling them with Hiram and stuff like that. So I just don't see a scenario where this is relevant. Maybe this is more like of a late game type of thing where you start getting 2 lore because you plop this down. You have so much.
Late game, you already win though. You just win in one turn, right? You play Tomato plus Lucky Dime, you just win. Like there is no like blue red. I feel like
this would win quicker than.
Yeah, but like I feel like
it takes more time to get.
Yeah, blue red.
3 or more items in play is tough, I think, but maybe.
The problem with this is that Hiram Flaversham is the actual power engine of the deck, and that whole card is predicated on banishing your items.
Yeah, I think that you've mentioned most of its issues. I think fundamentally there's another issue, which is your items, you really play them to ramp and for card draw right now with Flaversham. So your items don't really contest board. They are just sitting there, maybe providing extra ink, maybe providing extra cards. And then locations also don't fight for board. So I don't think that mixes very well together. Locations are at their best when you like somewhat even on board or even ahead, and then when they try to interact with your location, they can't really. They also exert their characters, you get good traits and stuff, but it's not like. I think inherently there's a lot of anti-synergy between locations and items, and especially a location that needs you to also have items in play.
Yeah.
I think your opponent needs to be AFK for a few turns for you to set up the items and the location and also not destroy anything.
The design decision to make this cost 2 to move is very interesting to me. Because it seems deliberate. So, like, why would it be broken if it costs 1 to move?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's very.
Why are you ever moving stuff? You're never moving anything there anyway. Right?
What if I need my Shenzi at the location?
Yeah. It's like some niche cards that aren't in the metagame that aren't based off like moving to locations. But why is this location so powerful that you have to? It costs 2 to move. It's just bizarre.
Yeah, when Queen's Castle, it costs 1 to move them, right?
Yeah, and draws you a card.
It's really strange. That's a good point, yeah.
All right, next one is Ariel, 6 cost, uninkable, and Sapphire, 3/4 Storyborn Hero Princess, quest for 3, has ward, and says, while you have more items in play than each opponent, this character gets +2 lore. Moin, you don't like this card, right?
No, I was still thinking about the card before.
Ward seems good. Listening. I like Ward. I think it's a slow card. I think it's a slow card. It's also an inkable.
It's super slow.
Yeah. But
you know the problem is right now is if you put this into the decks, it's it's contesting that 6-drop slot, and there's like Medusa and there's Tremaine and like
Tremaine,
And there's
I do
Gaston.
think
Gaston's better
there's
card than this.
Gaston if they decide to do that, but it just depends. Like if you're slotting this card into the 6-drop slot, you have to be taking it like it has to be replacing. It has to be more powerful than stuff you're taking out, in my opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, so
card.
I don't think the card's that powerful. Because I think most of the time, even in the decks where this would be good, you like play this and you quest for 5 once. It's okay.
I think that's good. I think that's
and
good.
then it dies.
I mean,
Bell does the same. Bell is inkable with, and like okay, you have to get to 10 ink. But those decks, that's what they do. They get to 10 ink.
weren't you just comparing this card to the Robin Hood, the 6-cost 4/5 Robin Hood that quests for 4? Like I think this having ward is way better than that. Way better.
I don't think it's like the difference is Robin Hood's inkable, so I don't think it's like much better. So where
Okay.
makes up for it on being uninkable.
Sure.
Ward's interesting. It's like Lucky Dime, things like that. But
Mhm.
I think unfortunately, like a lot of these decks, at least in the current metagame, like Ward on expensive characters is just meeting B prep or double AoE removal. Which I mean, I think in blue steel, like a blue steel mirror, this might be a little bit annoying. But yeah, I mean, in a B prep metagame, playing 6 for Ward is a lot, I think.
Yeah, but still, if it forces them to be prep, you're often like very, very happy.
Yeah, I can see that. All right, let's talk about the last Sapphire card. Triton, 3/3. 3 cost on Inkable Storyborn King. Quest for 1 and says tap. Banish one of your items, gain 3 lore.
It's another tap card. It's tough. I think it could be good, but the fact that it is that tap card, it has to survive in order to get that. And then once it's tapped, it's never getting anything more than that. It's doing its ability once and it's dying. So
If you're playing this with like LeFou and you're untapping it and just fucking, I mean,
Bing bang boom.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
that sounds interesting. That seems like a really fast fast red blue. Yeah.
yeah. You
Actually,
just draw your
no,
entire
what-
deck, ramp a bunch, and just fucking bam, 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 combo.
You don't even need to go LeFou because red blue needs cheap items for Flavasham anyway. So we play Shield of Virtue, and it goes bing bang bang.
Mm-hmm.
Bing, bang, bam. Like you said, you heard it here first.
I think the card might be straight up worse than Caterpillar.
I think it's a sleeper. We'll see.
I think it's bad.
We'll see.
Like I like talking about when it could be good, but I think 3 cost uninkable, and you need to destroy items every time you want to get your lore off.
Hey,
I don't think that's good enough.
Popsicles.
but
Yeah, you don't have infinite
our
popsicles.
boy
I'm not-
Tamatoa gets him back.
Yeah, I still want them for my Flavasham.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think this card will see play, unfortunately, but it's interesting. 3 lore is a lot.
Mhm.
That's a lot.
Mhm.
Yep.
All right, I'll pass over to you, Kaba, for the steel cards.
So we're at the steel, 5 cost, inkable, Mickey Mouse, 3/4, quest for 2 with shift 3. It's a Floodborn. Also has resist 1. When you play this character, deal damage to chosen character equal to the number of broom characters you have in play. So currently the like broom archetype is definitely Amethyst Steel because that's where most of the broom cards are. If a valid broom deck comes to fruition, I think this card is very good because dealing damage to chosen character equal to the number of broom characters you have in play, like, and its body's not that bad.
Has resist
like,
1, like that's pretty tough.
Has resist 1.
Turn 3.
I mean, it has to be either Zeus, like Zeus does get it. Zeus, of course, does get it.
Maui.
Yeah, oh god, don't. Yeah, but the thing is, like, this is actually quite a good ETB if you can get it, and it's also shift 3. Like that might be quite relevant. Like maybe if you do, I mean, what could you do? I don't know. I don't think there's a 1-drop Mickey Mouse, but imagine if there was a 1-drop Mickey Mouse and maybe 2 1-cost brooms on turn 2, and then bam. But
No, I think if this, even if a lot of the time, let's say in a boom deck, it would deal like 2-ish damage. If that's enough to clear something off, I think this card can be very good. It's like an inkable 5 cost with an okay body that deals some damage on play. So this would be another reason where we could maybe think about how good are the brooms in the next set.
Yeah. Next card is Aladdin, 3 cost inkable, 3/3, also a Floodborn. With shift, discard a location card, quest for 1. Whenever this character quests, you may banish chosen item. So it's kind of like Wildcat, except it's not like a separate tap and quest ability. It's just whenever you quest, you banish chosen item. Honestly, I don't know. I think the card's fine. I think the thing I like about these types of cards is a lot of the time the whole like shift discarded location card. Those types of effects are interesting, but they don't really appeal to me too much. I just like the idea that these are cheap Floodborn cards that have the interaction, like you mentioned, mine with things like Blue Fairy and Bucky. I think that's actually kind of more intriguing to me than anything. And this card just seems fine in general, but it just doesn't blow me away. Maybe it's better than I think.
So
who thinks it's good? Do you think it's good, more? Okay, why is it good?
I think it's good.
Me.
Basically, I think it's like an item hate card that's white all white when your opponent doesn't have an item. And I think, yes, I would probably only play it if I'm playing something with the Floodborn synergy, but like a 3-cost Floodborn, considering, okay, I might be playing Blue Fairy or Bucky with this, I think is already okay. And then on top of that, it can definitely blow out some decks that rely on items or banish an item here or there.
I think I like that point you made. I didn't actually think about it, where like a lot of the item, actually nearly all the item removal in the game right now is like you have to play it when there's an item on the board, whereas this is kind of nearly setting it up so that your opponent is discouraged from playing items a little bit, maybe.
Simultaneously, it also has to tap in order to have the effect, which is, like we talked about, that's a downside.
Quest instead of tap, which maybe the difference isn't actually that huge in this case. There's only one lore.
I think what's funny is that Moine's kind of describing like almost like a hate bear deck in Lorcana, where you have these like serviceable bodies, whether it's like a 3-cost inkable 3/3, that just have these like additional hate effects, whether it's like banish an item or like it just like it's funny because it's kind of an archetype in Magic the Gathering, where you have this like standard vanilla body, but then you have this little bit of hate on it that well, it's not applicable in every matchup. The body is serviceable enough that you can just have a deck that has like a critical maximum of these and just be like this like weird controlling low to the ground deck, almost like a death and taxes deck.
Yeah, but also I think if we think back to set 3 Bucky discard, which was played at the start and has fallen out of favor, but in that version of the deck, people were playing the 4-cost Jafar just to have any Bloodborne to curve into on turn 4. And all the turn 3 Bloodborne was basically just shift Robinhood. And now we already have like something that you can play. You just need to draw this with your 2-cost payoff card. You don't need to draw 1-cost, 2-drop, 3-drop for a curve like this. And I think a 3/3 for 3 is absolutely fine. Some itemate added on top of it. I think card's very good.
Yeah. Next one is Phil, 4-cost, inkable, 2/3, quest for 2. Your hero characters gain challenger +1. And also whenever you play a hero character, gain 1 lore. There's definitely a lot of hero archetype support in this set. We didn't really see them in the Sapphire cards, but there's a lot of synergy with that. And if you look at a lot of the cards in Lorcana, it seems, at least to me, that the main characters of franchises often have the hero tag. So like Ariel, Belle, Mickey, Donald, that type of stuff, right? It's kind of like the main character from a movie will usually have the hero tag. So if you actually go onto like the Lorcana app or any card database and you filter by hero cards, there's a lot. So like if there's a deck that just happens to play good cards, they happen to be hero cards, maybe you play Phil in it. I don't know if you want to do like an entire hero build around. Maybe it just works if some of the cards happen to be hero cards, but I actually do like a little bit of the flavor. It's a bit silly how Phil is kind of a goat. He's known as a satyr, and he also, when you play a card, it's kind of like goat, you gain the lore. So I think that's kind of flavorful. What do you think, Moine?
Yeah, I don't know. I just think the card was interesting, so I added it. It does need quite a bit of already good hero cards for it to be good, because at the end of the day, you're playing like a 4-cost 2/3. It does something on play, kind of, because it might facilitate a trade already the turn it's played, and then after that, you would just let it sit on the board while you develop hero characters.
Yeah. Maybe it's relevant to see how many cheap hero characters they are. I don't know if you play maybe a swarmy type of deck with this, that you play loads of cheap cards and gain a lot of lore. Maybe that's relevant, but yeah. Next card is Donald Duck, Buccaneer, legendary, 4-cost, inkable, 3/4, Dreamborn Hero, Pirate Captain. Those tags probably are relevant. Quest for 1. During your turn, whenever this character banishes a character in a challenge, your other characters get +1 lore this turn. So I don't know. I looked at this card and I thought I didn't think it was like amazing. To be honest, I actually didn't think it was worth a legendary slot because it's quite comparable to. There's like a Mulan already in the game. That is, I think it's 5 cost 4/5 with the same effect, except it just does it buff? No, I think it is the same effect. I thought it buffed the princess characters, but her herself, she is just a princess. So I guess the reason this is legendary is because it comes down on turn 4 instead of turn 5, and maybe the tags of hero, pirate, and captain are like more relevant. Are you pretty high on the card, Moin, or what do you think?
Probably not either. But if we pair this with like Pegasi or Pascal,
Pegasi?
A burrow of Pegasi. No.
Yeah, and then suddenly, as soon as your opponent quests or your Pegasi quest for 2, maybe. But yeah, it's probably not great.
Yeah, I'm low on the card, but this last card, I'm high on it.
Get out of here, bro. All right, Brandon, read it off. All
right, next up we got the Wall. 4 cost inkable steel location. 8 willpower, costs 2 to move, and says, well, even a good character here, your other locations can't be challenged. Location control, baby.
I don't like
Nobody.
it at all. I really thought about this card to try and like think about how good it is, and it's like, so if you have the exerted character there, if you really want to kill the other location, sure, you have to kill the character. Also, this just says your other locations can't be challenged, so it's like, oh, location control, right? Yeah, no, oh yeah, but then Rise of the Titans as well. It doesn't give like a location ward.
Also, this one can be challenged, so it doesn't even lock your opponent out. But
yeah. And it has no lore. It has absolutely no lore. Like I just, it seems like there's so many conditions that like you have to have another location that's already really good in play that you maybe gain lore from. You have to have another character. You have to pay 2 to move that character here. That character has to be exerted. There's so many steps. I don't understand this card. So any Wall believers maybe try and convert me, but ultimately I don't see it.
No,
I think even if the card said you like your other, without the condition, your other locations can't be changed, I think it would still not be good. Because like you're still paying 4 for this location. That's like, it's decent on 8 willpower, but that doesn't do anything on its own, and it's just protection.
This is, to me, literally, this is if you're playing turn 4, it's a turn 4. It's turn 4 do nothing. It literally,
I lose the game.
Yeah, right. It seems so bad.
All right, we have a tradition to uphold now. After set 3, shout out to Phonetic. I'm not sure if he still creates content, but he did at one point. Famously said set 3 was bulk. So set 4, bulk or not bulk. Start with you, Kawa, then Moyen, and then I'll go. Bulk or not bulk. Set 4, Ursula's return.
I'm gonna say bulk, but in a good way.
How is that good?
We kind of talked about this a little bit before the pod, and I was like, there's not so many cards I'm not excited about this set so far. I will say by the time this pod comes out, all of the cards should be released. At the time of recording, they're dropping the rest of the cards tonight, so we'll be looking at all the cards during this. But the reason why I think it's bulk but probably good is because I don't see that there's as many powerful cards, or maybe as many clear powerful cards as there was last set. There's no Jafars that people are going crazy over, whatever, which is quite funny because Jafar didn't really end up where people thought he would be. But I think it's good because I'm really happy with the state of the meta at the moment. I think there are some key cards that you can kind of introduce into deck archetypes. Maybe some new ones will spawn, but I don't know. I guess from a marketing standpoint or whatever, maybe I'm not doing it justice because I should be like, everyone get excited about these cards. But like, I'm excited about some of them, but I'm not like overly hyped. But I'm happy that I'm not overly hyped, which maybe sounds weird. But yeah, Moyen, what do you think?
So there's a lot of things I like about the set. It's like it supports some archetypes that were a little bit under supported, like getting some extra boom stuff is nice, and then we'll see if that gets us anywhere. I like the sync together. I like the new shift way. I think that will be less impactful, but especially the sync together mechanic, I think, makes for some interesting gameplay. Regarding the cards, if I remember correctly, it's probably less cards I'm excited about in comparison to last set. But again, I think there's still lots of cards that are like tools that depending on deck and meta, could be nice to have to play around with. But it's not like, okay, this card is so much above weight, I have to play it in my deck. So
Yeah, I don't think
I guess
I've
the
seen a
question was
single.
bulk or no bulk.
Bulk
Yeah,
or not
I'm-
bulk? Yeah, binary. Which one?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like the question in this way.
Brandon,
For
what
me,
do you think?
Not bulk.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of interesting cards, to be honest. There's going to be plenty of cards that we miss as well, because they're contextual. Like, for instance, we didn't totally miss it. We kind of missed Popsicle initially. Like, we missed Lucky Dime for sure. I mean, that card looked terrible. But it's like a major
I feel like Lucky Dime was like the perfect bait card.
Yeah, it looks like a Timmy card, and it's like one of the best win conditions in the game right now. I think it's not bulk. I'm excited for it. I think the cards look cool. We have new mechanics, which is crazy, like sync together, new shift mechanic. I'm an Ursula's Return believer, to be honest. Also, set 3 meta is like the best meta I've ever played. I don't know if I said this in the last podcast, but I went back and played set 1 meta because I had some deck sleeved. Oh, the gameplay was terrible compared to now. Like, the gameplay is so much better now. So I'm actually really enjoying set 3 meta. Like, honestly, the worst thing that could happen for me is that set 4 Sunset comes out, and it's just like these 90-degree aggro decks, which is, I don't think that will ever, I kind of think that will never happen again in Lorcana, or it will never really be a legit strategy in like a actual competitive meta. But like, if that happened, it would kind of ruin the game experience for me. Right now, it feels like you can make a lot of relevant choices. There's tons of different decks to play, multiple different archetypes to play. Like, I love set 3 meta, so I'm pretty excited for Ursula's Return because it I don't know, like, it looks like a few good cards, and a lot of them slot into our current archetypes, but there's plenty of ways to exploit other ones as well. And there's not too many broken aggro cards.
What's funny is I do specifically remember Brendan being kind of terrified of Emerald when he saw the cards last day. He's like, "Oh my god, there's so much discard. I'm gonna get absolutely dunked
bro.
on."
And what's
Yeah,
this
do you remember
meta
that?
game? There's fucking so many discard decks. It sucks.
I specifically remember
I
that
do hate
last
those
set,
discard
yeah.
decks. Like, dude, I played a set championship where it might have been 60-70% green steel. Like, those discard cards, like I said, they are overshadowing doing anything else in Emerald that is not discard, which is unfortunate for the color. But I mean, those cards are pretty annoying. Like Prince John, Sudden Chill, like, those cards are not very fun to play against. Not that they shouldn't exist. Like, I like playing decks that are unfun to play against. Don't get me wrong. But they're pretty toxic. Like, the whole discard is like the major front running archetype for Emerald is pretty annoying, in my opinion. Like, it's probably the least fun part about Lorcana is like turbo discard archetype everywhere.
I have a lot of people discussing that in like local or like our local group chats and stuff, saying like, I can't believe they went so hard in on discard for Emerald because it seems like so unfun when you play against it, and then even for like new players and stuff, like it feels like you can't play the game against discard. Some people are kind of arguing. So I just know people are surprised how hard they went in on it at first, but
I think some of
like,
those cards are pushed a little bit, like the Prince John with like the ward and stuff. But I think it's still way more fun to play against than like OG Lemon Lime or OG Blue Green. Like, those things were actually
because like it's weird because even though we're talking about like how tough it is to play, how unfun it is to play against discard, like you talked about it in your tips and tricks for Ruby Amethyst, right? Like there is a strategy to play against that, which a lot of players don't know, which like the whole thing with rabbits and maleficence is that people play these cards, they just draw cards, and that's how they get punished and stuff. So even though there's maybe not too many ways around it, there are ways to try your best to combat it, I guess, right? Certain decks.
I do think, and I will say this as like a post-mortem of set 3 as we close out. Like, set 3 was by far my favorite metagame. Like, I felt like we were gaming for 3 months. Like, it was a really fun metagame. It was very dynamic, and I thought it was an extremely skill testing metagame as well. Which, maybe I'll change my mind on as we come back from Atlanta. But I loved
Brendan goes like
poorly, then
X5 drop.
Not skill testing.
Yeah, it is terrible. But I really enjoyed set 3, to be honest. So I wouldn't say I hope it doesn't get shaken up a lot, but I hope we get similar gameplay like fidelity in set 4 for sure. All right. Mm-hmm. Anyway, if you enjoy this podcast, number one thing you can do is buy a T-shirt. Link in the description, pinned comment, check it out. It's only going to be up for a week. Get it while you can. Get them before they sell out, and wear them to your tournaments. I don't know if you'll get them before Atlanta and Lille. It should be about a month on shipping time, delivery, all that's good stuff. We'll get them out to you as soon as possible, and that's the number one thing you do, support us. If you can't buy a t-shirt, leave us a review. It's the least you could do. Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It helps so much. Video version of this on YouTube with card images, by the way, youtube.com/@Podcana Podcast. Hit the subscribe while you're there. Twitter's @BrendanABG, Moin_HS, Kalatek_CG. You better keep an eye on the channel. If you're not subscribed, you better subscribe because you know what's going to happen the next week. Picks are born. New set releases on Friday. That means deck techs, deck guides, videos. Everything's coming out from the best player/player in the world, probably the rank 1 player in the future, Mr. Moyen. We'll be doing tons of deck techs, tons of different colors, tons of different archetypes. Might even slip in a few green deck techs. We haven't even done a single one yet.
Might slip in some other types of videos as well. I've been working on. I'm really excited about
other types of videos.
Certain type of video I'm working on at the moment. So be sure to sub and
boys, I'm ready to break some new ground and do a set 4 Ruby Amethyst deck tech. I know we need one of those. I've had set 1, set 2, set 3. Now set 4 Ruby Amethyst deck techs. Anyway, thank you all so much for listening. We'll see you next week.